Hi there, Kendra Tolbert here. I'm a registered dietitian and yoga teacher, and I specialize in women's health and fertility. And today's video is an interview with McKenzie Caldwell, who is a fellow dietitian, and she's also the founder of Feed Your Zest. McKenzie takes a weight-inclusive, eating disorder-informed approach to help people nourish their bodies to support their fertility, support themselves and their health and their babies throughout pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. We chatted all about what it's like to work with people who are trying to conceive at a time where the world doesn't feel maybe so safe, and what it's like to personally want children at a time where it can feel a little bit like we're all on shaky ground. I hope that you enjoy this conversation about what it's like to want kids when the world seems like it's on fire.
Hi, Mackenzie. Thank you so much for joining me today. We've already been chatting. The folks
Yeah.
missed out on some really great tips around lip liners and lip gloss and sunblock. Who knows what may happen in this conversation? It might come
Yeah,
back
who
up.
knows? Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's so fun to be here. And like I was saying, I've just been following your work for a while. I still feel like a baby dietitian, and you're definitely an inspiration to me in the fertility world. So honored to be here.
Oh, well, it's an honor to have you. I love your channel. I still am like making my way through the conversation you had with Judy Simon because Judy's just like a well of wisdom and I could just absorb everything she has to
I
teach us.
know,
So, yeah.
right? Yeah, I feel exactly the same. Even when I was editing it, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much in here.
So good. I'll make sure to link to that because it's definitely information that I think the people watching would be interested in learning from and learning more about. So, you and I are here to talk about something a little bit different than I typically talk about on this channel and the way
Yeah.
these interviews usually go. We're actually just going to talk about what it's like to want children and help people prepare for children in a world that's on fire, which, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is crazy to like be in this position as like somebody who has a master of public health degree. And I'm like seeing patients every single day. And I live in a state that has a 12-week abortion ban. And I also have patients that are doing IVF. But then I also have patients who are like Catholic, for example, and don't want to do IVF for religious reasons. And it's just like, it's crazy. But then I'm also a human and a woman with a uterus walking around and trying to just like feel safe at the same time. It's wild.
Absolutely. I think the first thing I'm curious about is like, where do you stand? Is the world on fire? I think I said it, but is that true?
That's a great question. Cause I mean, like, if I were to go back in time, how would I feel in like 1965, right? Would it be the same? And at a certain point, like to protect my own nervous system, I think I have to kind of just like find the little joy in every day. But again, being one, a healthcare professional, two, an empathetic person, and then three, somebody who like actually studied public health, I do see a lot of injustice in our world right now, and I so badly want for things to change. And I don't personally feel that our current political administration is standing for the things that I stand for. But if I have the outlook that the world is on fire, I would probably just take a nap.
Just
And
take a nap.
so, yeah, that's like it. I think that that perspective would personally burn me out. It might be motivating for other people's activism or their work or whatever it is. Personally, I think I can't live that way because I'll just get too overwhelmed with like the weight of the world.
I'm with you. I am absolutely with you. I am definitely someone who feels everything and probably absorbs a bit too much of
Yeah.
what other people are experiencing. And I probably spend way too much time on social media, which definitely has a way of making everything seem like it's urgent and overtaking the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm with you. I love that you mentioned if you were to take a look back at a different point in time, would you feel the same way? And I think we would. I think we have a tendency to think that we are in a uniquely difficult time, like no one has ever
Hmm.
experienced this before. Well, that may be true, but I know I come from folk who have experienced far worse.
Absolutely.
And like, so is the world on fire or is it just the world being what the world has always been, which is complex and complicated and full of
Yeah.
injustice, but also full of people who are determined to make it better for the next generation rather than
Hmm.
saying, it's so terrible now. I don't want there to be a next generation that I'm contributing to. Because I'm definitely
Yeah.
seeing a bit of that sort of rhetoric around the like, well, the world is terrible. I'm not having kids,
Hmm.
which is an option, totally an
Yeah.
option. And is it I'm not going to say is it the best. It's just what people sometimes land on, which is fair and understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think like if I had that perspective, I just couldn't I couldn't live a happy life. It wouldn't be for me. But I agree. I think it's valid to say, like from an environmental perspective, I don't want to feel responsible for bringing up a next generation in a world with climate change that looks like it's not going anywhere good. Um, and I don't think we can argue one way or another that one way is right or one way is wrong. I think we kind of just got to do what we feel is like right in our own hearts.
I love that. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. It's something that I'm constantly trying to figure out. My husband is probably tired of me talking to him about it.
Hmm.
And my journal is like, girl, we went over this last week. And I'm like, well, we're not done yet. But it's not something that I'm always, I think, super comfortable talking about openly, especially here on the channel, because there's also the fact that, like, it depends on where you are in the world. In some places in the world, this is like, I assume the best things have ever been, and there's a sense that like things are progressing.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know that we always have a view of like how things are happening in other places in the world. The United States can feel very I hesitate to say it, but self-centered. Like we're very us focused. And so I think we tend to view the world through the lens of like what's happening here
Yeah.
versus everywhere.
And, I mean, that's like, we could go back to the like pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. Like, where does that idea even come from? And it's probably from Puritan settlers who had this like idea like, oh, we're being religiously persecuted. We're going to do everything in this one way. Like, we're very independent. And then we can even like go on a whole rant about like American imperialism and what that even means too. But yeah, I think it's definitely interesting to think about like just other perspectives across the world. Like what if we just all took a deep breath and kind of came back to the present moment? What would that look like?
I think we've all needed a giant deep breath and pause since the pandemic. And I think
Absolutely.
that probably would have done a world of good for all of us.
Yeah.
Is this a conversation that you ever have with your clients? Is there ever this kind of like tug of war that they're sharing with you that they're experiencing between like wanting a child and feeling like maybe now isn't the best time because they're looking at what the world looks like?
I would say yes and no. I think most of the folks who are seeing me have already come to the conclusion that they do want children. If they're seeing me for fertility purposes, I have other patients that just don't want kids for whatever reason. But I know one patient in particular who's had multiple miscarriages after the kind of after January of this year became really hesitant to start trying again because again, where we live in this state in our 12-week abortion ban, she started to get really scared about whether or not she was going to be able to get the care that she needed if she were to have another miscarriage. And has kind of been going back and forth on that with her husband and as far as like what her treatment should look like. Should she move back to New Jersey? And it's definitely a really um, hard process for her to kind of work through for sure.
Yeah, that does sound incredibly difficult. And I don't know that that's something that we explore or talk about nearly as much as like for some people, it's a fear of if something goes wrong, will I have access to the care that I need?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's not just do I want to bring a child into this world? It's like, do I have the medical care that I need to be well throughout a pregnancy or if I experience pregnancy loss? And that's a very valid concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of it is going to rely heavily on just you being able to trust your care team. Um, and I think that is ultimately what it comes down to. And I think there are really amazing providers here in the Charlotte area specifically. I know a couple, and I would trust them, but I haven't had multiple miscarriages myself, which are in and of themselves a trauma. So it's definitely difficult for sure.
Yeah. I think both of us do work where we're kind of focused on like the micro. We're focused on the individual behaviors and how
Yeah.
people can tweak those to improve their health. But you have an MPH. So you're also like the person to talk to about what sorts of things maybe we can encourage people to advocate for so that we can
Yeah.
make change across the board. So it's not just a matter of people thinking about like what they can do for themselves, but like we've created policies and an environment that supports reproductive health. That feels like a big question, but like, what can people do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think the things that I'll tell you what I call my senators about. And I think the most recent one with the passing of the big beautiful bill that I was calling about was that nutrition safety net programs are extremely impactful and important, and that we have evidence to show that they work. When we give people money for food, they eat better. They buy more fruits and vegetables. They eat more protein. Like, they just have better nutrition outcomes. I love to talk about the effectiveness of the WIC program. You know, every WIC office is going to be a little bit different, but I did my public health rotation in Boone, North Carolina at the health department there. So it was like a rural WIC office. Absolutely loved my preceptors, learned so much from them. They're breastfeeding champions, went above and beyond to support their clients with accessing like extra like farmers market nutrition program funding so they could use their WIC dollars at the farmers market to get local fresh fruits and vegetables. It was amazing. And so I know that those types of programs exist. Of course, again, not every WIC office is going to be as compassionate, but you are going to get pretty much the same benefits whichever one you go to. And overall, the WIC program is extremely effective in promoting health and well-being for low-income women and children through age 5. And then once kids hit age 5, they can either go into like a Head Start program and get nutrition through the Child and Adult Care Food Program, CACFP. Yeah. I think that's what it's called. And that has nutrition regulations. So that's kind of like if they were to do like pre-K, or they go to kindergarten and they can get school lunch funding, which, you know, when we were growing up, public school lunch seemed like really gross and all of that. But we actually have had a lot of regulations pass, and it now is actually, it can be very nutritious. So all of these programs that we have to spend our personal dollars on through taxes go to really, really, really good use, and they need to be funded by Congress. We also need to keep funding women's health research so that we can keep learning about what is effective to promote health and well-being and fertility. We need to protect our environment. Like the Biden administration had started to put into place regulations around PFAS and the water supply. And that funding looks like it might be disappearing, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but polyfluorinated chemicals are a really not great endocrine disrupting chemical, and we do not want them in our water supply. I know like my local municipality here does test for them, but they're not required to by law. They're just doing that because whoever's in charge decided it was important. So if we leave it up to each individual county, it might not necessarily look the same for every person and every person's water supply too. So there are these really big programs that can promote good nutrition, access to healthy food, and protect our environment. And those are all extremely important. And there's so many other things I could talk about too, but I'm already ranting, so I'm going to cut myself off.
No,
there, those
so
are kind of, yeah, like those are the top 3 things that I've been calling my senators about lately.
I love that. And what I love about that is if we do have this view that the world is on fire, like here's how we carry our bucket of water to the fire and help to put the sucker out, right? And we do that by, as a group, calling and making known what's important to us. And I think it's also because that can feel big for a lot of people. It's
Mhm.
also the little ways that you can get involved in your community, right? Like it's donating to the food bank, it's
Mhm.
calling up the DV shelter in your area and finding out, do y'all need diapers? Do y'all need
Mhm.
formula? Like, is there something that I can donate to help the children that are already here and to make the lives of the mothers that are mothering in a very difficult time a little bit easier and let them know that
Yeah.
someone cares. And so there's so many ways that we can help to put out the fire and make it a little bit safer for the people that are living through it. And I love what you said. I love it. You
Thanks.
weren't
Yeah.
ranting at all.
Yeah, I think this is part of the reason why I decided to start a podcast is because like that whole rant was definitely longer than 90 seconds. It doesn't fit on TikTok.
Sure doesn't. Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What about you? What are some of the ways that you like to care for the people in your community or like
Yeah.
on a political level or policy level?
So in the past, like I've done the like PCOS advocacy day back when I lived in the
Yeah, I always
DC
wanted
area.
to get involved in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I miss living in the DC area because clearly it was a lot easier to like just go to the hill.
Yeah.
And then like back in undergrad, I was an intern at the Food and Research Action Committee, which does
Mhm.
a lot around like food aid and food assistance. And so I would go to the hill and like take notes and then report back. That was kind of my thing, right? Like I definitely thought that I would be in more so like a policy adjacent position than what I ended up in. I haven't actually said this here on the channel, but I'll be going back to school to get my Master's of Science in Public Health, not the
Oh,
MPH, but
cool.
the MSPH with like a
Yeah.
focus in fetal, maternal, and perinatal health. It's such a ridiculously long title.
That's
But yeah,
awesome though. That's so cool.
this is a
That's
part
really
of
exciting.
why. So thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's because I definitely think that there's a lot more that can be done that goes beyond people needing to feel like they need to micromanage their own behaviors. Like there's so much that we can do to just make supporting reproductive health just like the default. You're just doing it by existing, right? Because like your water supply
Yep.
is safe and the air is safer and you have access to the food. And it's not because you had to do a bunch of individual research, just because the world was built to support you. And that's really what I'd love to
Yeah.
see more of. Um,
Mhm.
let's see. Yeah, definitely what I said about the like making donations. I think that's always a great way of supporting folk. And maybe this channel to some degree sharing information that hopefully makes people feel
And
like
it's
they're not alone.
free. Yeah.
That part. Oh, we'll see. But yeah, that's definitely what it looks like right now. Yeah, good
Yeah.
question. Thanks for asking. I'd like to dig
Absolutely.
into your personal life if I can, and I'll share as
Sure.
well.
Yeah.
Do you personally want children at this point in life? Where do you stand on that?
Yes, I absolutely do. I like have baby fever so bad right now. And I'm 31, so it's not like I feel a little bit of a ticking time clock, and there's a constant kind of like me reminding myself, Mackenzie, you see so many patients that are over 35.
Yes.
And they're fine and they have healthy babies and they're okay. Right? It's okay. You have time. Like my perfectionist brain needs to chill out in a lot of areas of my life, and that is one of them. Um, and I'm just not married. I haven't like gotten to that stage of life where I feel like totally secure with my partner that like it's time. But I'm in a relationship where that seems like it's probably going to be the case, which is super exciting. And we definitely both want children. Um, but yeah, it's definitely it has over the course of my career, especially when I was younger, like just out of school and starting my practice being like 25 and counseling somebody who was like 35, it definitely felt like weird to be like, I'm not even close to having children. But 6 years later, which really isn't that much time, now I am kind of feeling a lot more ready for that too.
Yeah. I think you're in actually like a really privileged position because you do get to see firsthand, like, oh, people have children later than this and their kids
Yeah.
are healthy and all is well. Because I do think that sometimes the message we get is that like 35, you fall off a cliff And if
Right.
you do somehow manage by miracle to have a baby, like you're both doomed. And it's just like, no, that's not
No.
actually the truth. I'm
No.
constantly talking to people about the like increased risk doesn't
Yeah.
always equal still like high risk. Like it may be increased compared
Yes.
to what was already very, very low. And so now you've moved to like, instead of very, very low, now you're just very low.
Yes, exactly. A risk is not a guarantee, something I am constantly saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I am much older than 31. I'm 39. So we're actually like on the opposite ends of this 30
Yeah.
spectrum, which I love.
Uh-huh.
And it's interesting that you're having some of the same sort of feelings of like, I'm not ready. At 39, I'm still like, we're not ready. My husband and I have been married since like a month before the world shut down for the pandemic.
Yeah.
Interesting time to get married. We didn't know. It was a month later, and we were like, how'd this happen? Um, and then he decided to go and get a PhD
Wow.
in like 2021. So that definitely was like maybe not the best time.
Yeah.
And so now he's nearing the end of it, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna go back to school now. So who knows when it's gonna happen? And it's
Yeah.
definitely as I get closer to 40, aka like how many months from now? I don't know. Not very many. Maybe 10 months from now, there's definitely a like, as confident as I was, the confidence is definitely sometimes taking a few dings. And so I don't know. I don't know. I definitely would like to at least try. I feel like I
Yeah.
owe it to myself to try. And I
Yeah.
talked about this on the channel, but there's also like a real fear of other people seeing me as delusional for thinking I have a right to try. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, but girl, what?
Well,
Of
okay.
course you have a right to try.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a whole thing. I talked about it on the channel. Like there was actually a commenter who said I was deluding myself. So I was like, that's where the word came from. But they just described how I think on some level I was already feeling. And it
Yeah.
wasn't because like I made it up, right? It's because like I'm being fed this story from the world. And so hearing all the stories about how things can go wrong and how things may not work and how you're this age, they definitely can pile up on you.
Yeah.
How do you counter it? Because you did mention that sometimes you feel like, oh, I need to hurry up, like time is ticking. How do you counter those thoughts with real facts or something else? I don't know.
Yeah, I think on the one hand, I take a deep breath and I come back to the present moment and I say, when it's right, it'll happen and it's gonna be fine. I value my health and well-being and I take good care of my body. And I like it's the second that I kind of like started figuring out what sort of nutrition eating pattern would support fertility, I started eating that way, and I have been eating that way for a long time now. I know what prenatal vitamins are going to be helpful for me specifically, or I know what lab work to get to figure out if there's anything specific that would impact that. I know for a male partner, like what they would need to do to support their fertility. I know what to do. And so I have the information that I need. And I think one person that on social media that really helped me feel a lot better was Dr. Sterling, OBGYN. I don't know if you follow
Oh,
her,
no.
but a lot of her content is around having kids older and how sometimes there's actually improved outcomes for children of older parents. And I hate even saying older because like why is 39, 36, whatever old, like it's not whatever, just is what it is. But quote unquote older parents are more financially and emotionally stable. And the children of older parents tend to do better in school and have better health outcomes and things like that too. And I love that idea of like I already know how much more confident I feel in myself and how much more stable I feel being 31 compared to being 28. And that's only 3 years different, right? So how much cooler could I be as a mom in 4 years?
I love
So
that. You're a cool mom. Yeah.
yeah, those are the kinds of things that I use to ground myself, is that I'm doing a great job with my preconception health, both mentally and physically. And if I do run into fertility challenges, it's just life. It's going to be okay, and we'll go from there.
I loved every bit of
At least
it.
that's what
I
I'm
think
telling myself. Whether or not I actually feel that is another thing.
yes, totally get that. Totally get that. Ooh, but you brought up a really good point that I don't think, again, that we talk about nearly enough, which is there are benefits to being an older, whatever that might mean to you, parent, right? Like
Yeah.
there are legitimate benefits for children, and we have research to show that. And so maybe we should highlight those things a bit more rather than just talking about the scaries, because there's also plenty of reasons to celebrate the fact that, like, sometimes a parent will be older and they have
Mhm.
something different to offer their child than maybe a younger parent would. Different, not necessarily better. So
Yeah.
please, everyone know, I'm not saying it's better to have children
Yeah.
older. I'm just saying it's different. And
Mhm.
that's beautiful.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think even from like the perspective of a small business owner, if I had gotten pregnant at 28 compared to where it looks like it's probably going to happen now, hopefully in a couple of years, um, my business is so much more established to the point where now I have a couple of team members. And this was such a funny conversation to have with my dad. I was telling him about how like thinking ahead, like how am I going to be able to create some sort of sustainable income for whenever I need to take maternity leave? And my dad was like, wait, isn't there some sort of federal maternity leave? And I was like, bro, no. I'm out here just like treading water. Oh no. Nobody from the government is throwing me a little floaty right now. So being able to establish my business to a place where, like, if I needed to go on maternity leave, I have people that could keep running the business, is an extremely comforting thought. That, like, financial career stability is there too, which I love.
Yeah, it's something else to advocate for right there, right? Like
Yep.
support from others. The end. And that's something that someone can do without being a mother, right? Like I think sometimes I know that I can feel like, oh, is that always my place to do the thing for the other people? But like it absolutely is, because we're all in this together. And so yeah, definitely let people know what you want, even if it's not for you. Like you're allowed to care about other people, folks. You're allowed to care about what other people are experiencing. And these things
Yeah.
take time. So like start letting the world know that these are things that we want now, so that
Yep.
hopefully down the road they will be available for more and more people. This is going to be such a random way of talking about this, but I don't know if you're into like the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Did you watch the Netflix series?
I haven't really, but tell me what you're
Okay.
thinking.
I've been obsessed with them since I was little. But they're in the season 2, there's like a group of cheerleaders who are advocating for higher pay.
Mhm.
And most of them, I think, are leaving. But they're like, we want the team that comes after us to get the
Mm.
pay that we always deserve and that they deserve. And they
Yeah.
celebrate the fact that like the ones coming after them are going to get it. And I think
Yep.
that's a beautiful picture of what women can do for each other. It's like, I don't always just have to think about what I need, but it's like, who's coming after me and can I create
Yep.
that for them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like to picture myself as like, I like to say that my ultimate goal is to be just a grandmother. And whether that is like an actual biological grandmother or of humans, or if it's like being a grandmother to my community, like I love that idea of being that wise old woman that can impart that wisdom and care for the community and just like be active in the community overall. And that, yeah, I love that idea too of like creating, like hopefully some of it would benefit us too, but ultimately benefit generations to come for sure.
Oh, I love the idea of Nana McKenzie. Yes. I love it. I love my Nana. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, she's the best human ever. I love her.
So anyhow, we have babbled all over. I don't know if there was any rhyme or reason to any of it, but I hope that at the very least people felt like they were less alone. And this, I don't know that people are always having these conversations with their friends and their family. And if they are, yay. If they're not, maybe this will encourage them to, because it's definitely an important thing to talk about, all the ways that we can maybe put out some of the fires that we see and support women, whichever stage of the reproductive cycle they find themselves on, and make this world a better place for whoever's coming next and for ourselves while we're here.
Yes, absolutely. I love this conversation. This was like fun, and thanks for letting me rant.
Yes, I'd love to have you back so you can also let everyone know about the beautiful work that you do as a dietitian, because
Yeah.
you're fantastic at what
Oh,
you do.
thank you. I appreciate you, and I would love to be back at some point.
Yay! Please do. If people want to dive into the work that you're already doing in the world of nutrition, can you tell us where they can find out more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, website is www.feedyourzest.com. And we've got a blog. You'll find links to lots of stuff there as well. On Instagram, I'm at fertility.prenatal.dietitian. And then on TikTok, it's at fertility.prenatal.rd because dietitian made it too long. And where else? So we have I have a podcast. It's called The Zesty Dietitian. You'll find links to that on my website as well. And I am technically on YouTube, but it's mostly just the podcast episodes. And that's at Feed Your Zest, I think. I'll make sure my real, I'll give you my handle so you can put it in the show notes in case that's wrong, because I forget. But yeah, lots of resources. And if you want nutrition counseling, you can find out more information about that on our website too.
And of course, I will link to all of that in the description box below. So make sure that you head down there, go look at all those links, and hang out with McKenzie a bit online, and maybe even in real life as your dietitian, because she's fabulous.
Thanks, Kendra. Appreciate you having me on.